The strongest, the roughest, the toughest, the quickest, the greatest, the best is back.
It's Saturday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
The wait all week long is finally over. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and much more. The Don Tony Show.
And now your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's everybody doing? It is Saturday, 12 noon. Rise and shine. October 21st, 2023. Welcome to this edition of the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony. As always, I want to thank you very much for joining me. Before I go any further, I just got to give everybody a little tidbit as far as the shows. If you are looking for this past Wednesday's Wednesday Night Dynamite, you can get it 3 different ways right now at dontony.com if you're a YouTube channel member or if you're a Patreon. Now, dontony.com, it's for everybody. The thing is that I am in the process of moving all my shows to a different server, and it's going to take probably about a week for everything to start getting smooth sailing again. So especially for this show and others, get it from dontony.com. There's going to be some changes in the very near future. We got to push dontony.com a little bit more. And, the changes will be subtle, but it's going to just make the shows that much more enjoyable. Today's show, if you check the synopsis, you have a pretty good idea as far as what we're going to be talking about. SmackDown yesterday, continuing the build to WWE CROWN JEWEL. As we all expected, the return of Bianca Belair happened last night. And now the big question is, does Bianca Belair have a match at CROWN JEWEL? We will talk about CROWN JEWEL in a little bit because there are 2 more rumored matches that could likely be added. One of them does involve Bianca Belair, but interesting as to number of the people who are not going to be going to CROWN JEWEL. And we have a few names. One name I don't think anybody's going to be extremely thrilled about going, but will not be in a televised role. I think he could. I think that's a clue of who I'm talking about. Yeah, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is supposed to go to CROWN JEWEL. Listen, you can enjoy the fun that people are having online, thinking that Vince McMahon was played by Ari Emanuel. All I know is that Vince is several $billion richer compared to last year. And Vince McMahon is heavily involved, not only in the TV deals that are being worked on, but also Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, WWE, when we always talk about this, and I know some of you are bored of it, but when you realize that the money they get for one show is more than what they make at WrestleMania, just let that sink in for a minute. For one show. So, like I said last week that everybody got a kick out of, if the Crown Prince tells you to dance, and you're willing to dance for the moolah, you dance on your head. You whip out moves that you haven't done in 30 years. So Vince McMahon, I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but in the executive world, in the billionaires and trillionaires of the world, they want to deal with Vince. So when people want to try to convince you that Vince McMahon is just a little, tiny, footprint on what's going on right now with WWE or TKO Group Holdings, they're mistaken. It's just a obviously click an emotional narrative out there. But hey, if Vince is away from creative a lot more, fine. Even though there was a lot of people who had their panties in a bunch yesterday because Dragon Lee, he lost. Oh my God, the Lee brothers, Trevor Lee and Dragon Lee, they lost yesterday. Cameron Grimes, I mean, come on, until he turns heel, he's got to let the Brillo pad grow out a little bit more. Then when he turns heel, then maybe Cameron Grimes will get a little bit of momentum on TV. But I just love the people with the Elmo emoji, the GIF file with the fire, because Triple H has got some of his favorites back on TV. Right now, with the exception of Bronson Reed, it's like you really dissect some of the people that are back on TV, and they're just, as I've been saying, they're just filling spots for some people who were released. That's a fact. But Bianca Belair, very interesting reaction yesterday. The live crowd loved it. People with half a brain know that Bianca Belair on TV is better than Bianca Belair not on TV. But I saw a lot of whiny heinies complaining yesterday, like, oh, she's back. Oh, she's going to go right in the title picture. This is bullshit. Why is it always Bianca and Charlotte in the title picture? Because they're not Shotzi and Xia Li, with all due respect. These are the top women of the company. And even though there's a couple of, decent number of whiny heinies out there that are tired, there's a lot of fans that are not tired. And Bianca Belair, she's back. And that's a good thing. I don't think she's going to be in the title picture immediately. But as I said to a few people last night, chatting after the watch party, who do you want IYO Sky to feud with next that has not been in the picture already? And the funny thing is, everybody comes up with the same answer for the most part. Bayley. There's got to be some storyline progression to get to Bayley versus IYO Sky. But as of right now, if Bianca Belair has a match at WWE Crown Jewel, her likely opponent will be Bayley. Just want to let you know that right now. In fact, I will tell you that, Vince McMahon is going to be going to Crown Jewel, barring some, bad set of circumstances. But the same weekend of Crown Jewel, WWE is doing a house show in Rochester, New York. And they have advertised some big matches for that card. Not only that, some of the wrestlers appearing at this event this week plugged on their social media profiles that they will be in Rochester, New York. So even though you can always card subject to change, when that much money is involved in Saudi Arabia, if you announce people that are not going to be there, chances are they're not going to be there. But as of right now for Rochester, these are the wrestlers that are going to be appearing, which means they will not be a Crown Jewel. The first person on the list is someone that you and I have noticed for several months, for some reason, does not appear on a majority of WWE Premium Live events. Maybe not a majority, but a decent number. You question yourself, why does Gunther so many times not make the final cut for Premium Live events? Fastlane, we didn't get Gunther, and Crown Jewel, we are not getting Gunther once again. Hey, it's optional if you want to go or not, but Gunther, I think, pretty big deal, not going to Saudi Arabia. Also not going to Saudi Arabia, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet. Those three will be battling in a three-way for the Intercontinental Championship. So that is one of the matches for Rochester. Also, Becky Lynch will not be appearing at Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins will be there. Becky Lynch will not. She will be defending the NXT Women's Championship against Tiffany Stratton. Now, we have Halloween Havoc night 1 this Tuesday, and we're going to do predictions on Monday. I was going to do them today, but there's a rumored match that might be added to it, and it may be announced before Monday night. So I'd rather do quick predictions on Monday. But, as we said on Wednesday Night Dynamite, how damaging is this for the Xia Li character? If you think about this for a minute, Becky Lynch is taking on Lyra Valkyria. Taya Valkyrie. You know why I have Taya on the brain? Because we have the PWI Top 250 women's list coming. And I was looking at Taya's Valkyrie's rank, John Morrison's wife, and I was very surprised how high on the list she is, especially when you look at the win-loss record over the last 12 months. Not a criticism to her, but that list is kind of wonky, if that's the right word, wonky. Rhea Ripley, no surprise, number one. But there's some on this list, my friends. It's baffling. It's baffling. If you saw the synopsis for this week, let's put it this way. Indy Hartwell is ranked much higher, not just a few points, much higher than Raquel Rodriguez and Shayna Baszler. Who else did I take note of right away? Marina Shafir. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know me. She blew Nikki Cross out of the water as far as ranks go. Ronda Rousey. How many matches did she really have in the last 12 months? She's ranked higher than Becky Lynch. Thea Hale. We all like Thea Hale. At 19 years old, newbie in the business, doing a great job. Now she's the cheerleader for Chase University once again. She blew the fuck Chelsea Green out of the water. So when we get into these numbers, once you get past like the top 5 or the top 10, the list turns into like an emotional hand job for a few people. And it's not just the women's side. They do it on the men's side. They do it on the tag team side. So we'll get into that list in a little bit. But just getting back to Rochester now. Becky Lynch will not be there. She's going to defend the women's championship against Tiffany Stratton. Now, what I was saying about Xia Li is you have Halloween Havoc night 1 this Tuesday. She's taking on Lyra Valkyria. As of right now, I think Lyra could possibly win it. I'm not making a prediction yet, but think about the Xia Li character last week, okay? Xia Li approaches Becky Lynch. I want shot. Becky is like, just name your day, name your time. You tell me, whenever you want it, on my terms. And she walks away. Meanwhile, on Raw Monday, we got Indy Hartwell challenging Becky Lynch. Now, storyline stupidity, that makes no sense because Indy Hartwell just lost a 3-way to face Becky Lynch at Halloween Havoc. Remember, she lost the 3-way. Lyra Valkyria won it. She gets the title shot anyway. Now, imagine you have Becky and Tiffany on the house show circuit. You got Becky, Indy on Monday, Becky and Lyra on Tuesday. If Becky drops that title against any of those 3 women in the very near future, it makes the Xia Li character look like she's brain dead. She had the shot. She didn't shoot her shot, if that's the way you want to put it. But Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton, I don't think anybody expected Tiffany Stratton in Saudi Arabia, but Becky Lynch will not be there. Charlotte Flair, will not be in Saudi Arabia. Neither will be IYO Sky. She will not be in Saudi Arabia. Charlotte and IYO Sky will be facing each other in Rochester. And then just to fill out the rest of the names, the Brawling Brutes, New Day, Grayson Waller, Carlito, and the Street Profits. And I also heard that Santos Escobar may not be going either. So that is pretty much who is not going to be going to Crown Jewel. So that's why the match with Bianca Belair and Bayley, I think, is a bigger possibility. You usually have 2 women's matches on WWE events. So you would think the Fatal 5-Way for Rhea Ripley's championship may not be the only women's match on the card. Now, if you look at Crown Jewel 1 year ago, we had 2 women's matches on the card. And ironically, what was one of the 2 women's matches? Bianca Belair versus Bayley. They actually fought a year ago at Crown Jewel. So we're probably going to bring that back. But Bianca will likely be a crown jewel. Street Profits Montez Ford will not be. In fact, if you want a little refresher, very quickly, last year's crown jewel, this was your lineup. Brock Lesnar over Bobby Lashley. Damage Control over Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Drew McIntyre over Karrion Kross. The Judgment Day over the OC. Braun Strowman over Omos. The Usos defeated the Brawling Brutes. Bianca Belair over Bayley. And Roman Reigns defeated Logan Paul. That was 1 year ago for Crown Jewel. So, another rumored match for Crown Jewel, and I think this is a pretty big one. And it's interesting because if you watch the storyline yesterday on SmackDown with John Cena, when John Cena came out and sounded extremely sad, like we thought like something happened and he wanted to share some really terrible news with us. And we're thinking, holy shit, did something happen with his family? Did he get an injury that we're not aware of? Is he going to reveal that he's going to be going back to Hollywood? No, he just lets us know that he hasn't won a singles match since 2018. With all due respect, he just won at Fastlane. I know it was a tag match, but he hasn't won a match since 2018 because he doesn't wrestle that often. You know, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but John Cena is so good at selling you. So why do you think during the commercial breaks, we hear John Cena's voice selling peanuts, selling cars, selling food, selling underwear, whatever? I mean, almost every commercial, you kind of hear John. Is that John Cena's voice? Speaking of John Cena's voice, let's have a little fun. I'm going to save this for Wednesday Night Dynamite. I actually did an hour's of video this past Wednesday, but I tried to record in advance and I screwed up and the codecs were off. So the video and the audio was completely out of sync. But I'm going to show this a little bit longer clip on Wednesday. It's pretty funny. For those on video, if you look at your screen, you know, I'm into watching like a lot of police videos, a lot of car chases, you know, people getting arrested, you know, Karens falling off the rails and getting arrested. I was watching this one yesterday. My friends, I know it's not exact, but tell me this fucking cop doesn't look like MJF. Tell me if this was 3 years, well, actually 5 years ago when he was in MLW, tell me this wasn't MJF moonlighting as a cop. Just look at,
he won't stop touching me.
Look at your right. Look at the arrow. Just watch.
You're under arrest.
Cool, but can I just be not?
So
here we go.
Just be chilling.
So security guard was on.
Look at the guy on the right. Tell me that's not MJF. Look.
Okay, so that's my phone right there.
And that's as far as I got.
No, so do you actually?
Oh man, that's MJF. That is fucking MJF. By the way, I was going to put this in a synopsis, but I don't like trolling. But you know Brock was removed from the roster page, right? For real. Brock legitimately was removed from the roster page, and nobody is talking about it. You think I'm kidding? Go look right now. I would have put this in the title of the show today, Brock removed from roster page. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to troll anybody because we're talking about Brock Anderson. Brock, the son of on. Oh God, we'll have some fun with that on Wednesday. But you want to know something? Speaking of trolling and clickbait, you remember I told you a couple of weeks ago about that wrestling news site that is on Microsoft, that is on Google and a few other places, and they're intentionally writing wrong titles to get people to click on it and then tell them, hey, douchebag, you wrote it wrong. A couple of weeks ago, they wrote that Roman Reigns will be the next Paul Heyman guy. I got another doozy for you. This was posted yesterday, and it's still up there right now. CM Punk speaks about reports on WWE and CM Punk. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I didn't hear CM Punk talk about what's the rumors. And I click on it, and it's actually Bully Ray talking about CM Punk. The same person, motherfucker, Dirtbag Khan, not Tony, not Shad, not Nick. This is another writer. I can't see the first name, but the last name is Khan. You know, this idiot keeps intentionally writing wrong titles to get people to click on this shit. I just wanted you to see it again because some people think I exaggerate as far as how many places out there, you know, just want to just draw you in for their ad revenue, and then people keep coming back. So I figured I'd show you that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about SmackDown. We don't have to get into a deep dive, but let's also talk about that PWI 250. And before we even get into the match results on SmackDown, which was only 3, the next match that is heavily rumored for Crown Jewel, and I think it's happening. I just don't know how to feel about it based on what John Cena did yesterday. Yesterday, John Cena comes out and he's really sad and he's got to reveal something to everybody. And we're thinking the worst, you know, not a death, but we're thinking that something happened in the family. Did he get hurt? He can't? He reveals that he hasn't won a singles match since 2018. Okay. We already said, you know, he hasn't wrestled much since 2018, and he just won a tag match. But he feels that he could still go. Now, I got a legit question to ask all of you out there. Do you remember when he feuded with Austin Theory? And after he lost to Austin Theory, he cut that promo that, you know, he was teasing retirement, that he didn't think he could still do it like he used to. I'm wondering if that was a Vince McMahon directive, because Vince is very, very close with Cena. And I would think that Vince probably has a little bit more pull on John Cena's creative storylines than Triple H did at that time. Now, maybe with Vince not, you know, running that ship like before, maybe Triple H is like, hey, if you could still go, go. I think of Adam Copeland. And this past Thursday on Patreon, someone had sent a question into Kev's show about Adam Copeland and about the way he looks. And he, you know, his haircut still has some gray, and, you know, talking about towards the tail end of his career. And the AEW stuff I'm not commenting much about right now, but if you think about his WWE run in the last year, outside of Crown Jewel and maybe, you know, the feud with Seth and Finn Balor, the story felt like, hey, I don't have much time left. When he had the match with Sheamus, you know, remember when he said how he has to ice up and it takes weeks and this and that? You know, I mean, now you realize, hey, you know, that's kind of extremely exaggerated. But it makes you wonder, because of Adam Copeland's age, when he was at the tail end of his WWE career, if Vince and the creative narrative was, you're old and your character is going to reflect on the fact that you're old, that your best days are long behind you. I don't know, but John Cena yesterday, you know, doing the you know, the sympathy act about not winning a singles match in 5 years, but he did it so well and the crowd bought it and I got a kick out of it. But then something else happened. Solo Sikoa shows up. Solo Sikoa ends up getting physical with John Cena. Solo Sikoa eventually gets almost gets hit with the FU. I still call it the FU. I'm sorry. But he gets out of dodge. Actually, he gets hit with it, but he does. John Cena doesn't do the "you can't see me," which was good, because to sell on TV that Solo would be so wiped out after taking one, you know, technically, you know, an FU, and then he's laid out on the mat so John Cena could do this. For Solo Sikoa's character, Solo is too tough for that. So he rolled out of the ring. But if you follow the last month, they have been teasing a match between John Cena and Solo Sikoa, we got a little teaser at Fastlane with the tag match, but yesterday we had more physical interaction between the two. And after SmackDown was off the air, Solo Sikoa on his social media account posted this. All he did was post a screenshot of the stare down between John Cena and him yesterday. And the interesting thing is John Cena has that look. If you remember when The Rock and Hulk Hogan were doing that stare down at the beginning of their WrestleMania match, and they were just staring at the crowd, like just taking in the reaction. Solo's just got his eyes locked on Cena. Cena is looking at the crowd, looking for the reaction. John Cena versus Solo Sikoa appears could be happening at Crown Jewel. The only thing is, you got to look at it two different ways. Should John Cena defeat Solo Sikoa right now, one-on-one? I think the only way that happens is if Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso get involved in this match. And that allows Solo to take his eye off the ball. And then John Cena, hits a couple of moves on Solo and gets the pin. I don't like John Cena beating Solo Sikoa clean. On the opposite side of it, after the promo that John Cena cut yesterday on SmackDown, if he loses, it's like, doesn't it make it even worse about what he said yesterday? So you feel like John Cena has to win this match. And for me, the only way he wins the match is if Jey Uso gets involved. And if Jey Uso gets involved, Jimmy Uso needs to get involved. Now, if you remember Fastlane, and we talked about it, the SmackDown before Fastlane, you had the Judgment Day and the Bloodline minus Roman Reigns meeting each other. Remember Paul Heyman, Rhea Ripley having that conversation? And they agreed to have an alliance. So you're thinking, okay, you do this the day before the Fastlane. Obviously, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. So the Judgment Day have their match, and Jimmy Uso is nowhere to be found. He's out buying Mr. Softy. If you think of the storyline the night before, it made no sense that why in storyline didn't the Judgment Day confront the Bloodline minus Roman Reigns that week and say, where were you? Where were you? We agreed, to form an alliance, and they didn't show up. Suddenly, this past Monday on Raw, the Judgment Day are taking on Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, and Jimmy shows up and costs Jey and Cody the titles. So you say to yourself, Road to Survivor Series? Yeah, pretty much. But now you got to think Crown Jewel. Because yesterday, when John Cena was having a little bit of a confrontation with Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso showed up. And for some reason, Jey Uso now has John Cena's back, repeatedly. And Jey Uso shows up and he takes out Jimmy Uso and we get that stare down. So obviously we all think the WrestleMania match is happening. Could you imagine the IWC's reaction if this ends up being a match at Crown Jewel? I don't think it will be. I don't think WWE will blow that match this early in the storyline. Right now, they're just causing each other, headaches, if you want to put it that way. But Jey Uso shows up yesterday, nails Jimmy Uso. Jimmy is shocked. He got that stare down, so the heat between the brothers intensifies. So I think it'll lead into Crown Jewel. The Usos are not advertised for that Rochester show. And that's a big deal. They're not advertised, neither one. So chances are they will be at Crown Jewel. So something else that happened yesterday on SmackDown that, how would you all feel if we down the line get a match between Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce? even though Adam Pearce has not wrestled in quite some time, I always get the vibe that Adam Pearce wants to put the boots on again, even if it's for one night. I think the problem with Adam Pearce is maybe Adam Pearce is a little concerned that he can't go like he used to. The beauty of wrestling, though, is that he could be working out in his basement. He could be at the performance center. Cameras don't need to be around. So he could work out. He could even work out with Nick Aldis in the ring, and you could have everybody looking at it. And, you know, Adam Pearce could turn around and say, what do you think, guys? And the trainers could either be like, yeah, I think this is good. Or you could have the trainers be like, I don't know. So Adam Pearce, I think, will have a good idea if he could still go. But right now, they have started to tease the tension between Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis. Because yesterday, after the segment with Cena and Solo and Jimmy and Jay, you had Jey Uso in the back. Nick Aldis fines Jey Uso $10,000 for attacking a SmackDown wrestler. And Adam Pearce, for some reason, is there, even though he's supposed to be the Raw general manager now. And Adam Pearce gets into a little bit of friction with Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis wants security to escort Jey Uso out of the building. And Adam Pearce is like, is that really necessary? You know, I could escort him out of the building. And Nick Aldis is like, you know what? I got a better idea. Security, escort them both out of the building. Wow, Nick Aldis being a dick. So now I'm starting to think, are we going to have both of these general managers leading into something at Survivor Series? You know what? That might be why the Judgment Day won the titles back. I had a little bit of epiphany last night. The Judgment Day are not SmackDown wrestlers, but they are the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. So because of that, by default, they are on both brands. So what would happen if Adam Pearce puts a team together for War Games, or maybe a traditional Survivor Series match, and Nick Aldis puts together a team for War Games, and we have Team Raw versus Team SmackDown? I personally think you do that, don't do it with the Judgment Day and the Bloodline and Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and Jim. Don't. The Judgment Day, it would be easy now. Because they're the tag champs, Nick Aldis could put the Judgment Day on Team SmackDown. I think they should utilize some other guys. Have some of the other card, I put Gunther. Have Raw be, Team Raw led by Gunther. Put Sami Zayn, put Cody Rhodes, put some oddities that you would never see tag with each other. And then on SmackDown, they could put Rey Mysterio. You could put, other people, Kevin Owens and others. And then, you know what? You could even have a moment where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are in the ring together and they're forced to go after each other because one's on Raw and one's on SmackDown. That's what I would do. No War Games. I don't like the idea of doing Team Pearce and Team Aldis for War Games. It's too much, too soon, I think, for a build. Give me Team Raw led by Gunther, Team SmackDown led by whoever you want, and we go from there. So, let's see. Let's see if Jimmy Uso shows up on Raw and Adam Pearce gives Jimmy Uso the same treatment that Nick Aldis gave Jey Uso yesterday. Couple of match results, then we'll talk about Logan Paul and a few other things. Match results yesterday, we had Santos Escobar lose to Montez Ford. Miraculously, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde fully healed. They come out for the match. Bobby Lashley comes out with Angelo Dawkins. This match, very good. Montez Ford playing, getting comfortable in his role as a heel. Towards the end of the match, we had Angelo Dawkins trying to take out the other members of the LWO. Rey Mysterio not at ringside. he has to mentally prepare to talk to Logan Paul, whatever that means. But what ends up happening is Santos Escobar gets distracted. Montez Ford gets the win. After the match is over, the Street Profits are kicking the boots to Santos Escobar, and here comes Carlito. Remember what we said last week with the SmackDown recap? Why isn't Carlito wrestling this week? He was supposed to wrestle Bobby Lashley last week, got attacked. So was he that injured that he couldn't wrestle this week? So what happens while Santos Escobar is getting beat down? Here comes Carlito, complete with the dance and music. Actually, I thought about his music yesterday. That music is make the save music. You know what I mean? Like, it's like make the save music. Like somebody's getting beat down and you want an uplifting song that'll just give you a pop, jump you out of your seats, get you happy. That's make the save music, not for matches. But they played the same music. He comes out. Not only does he come out with a chair, but he books. He runs down the ring. And as every step that he took as he's running, I'm like, this motherfucker is not even injured. Why is he not having a match this week? So Carlito ultimately makes the save. And, we got to see what ends up happening with Santos Escobar and Carlito. I'm starting to wonder if maybe Rey shows a little bit more. I know this sounds a little dumb on the surface, but, it could develop into something where maybe there's a little jealousy between Carlito and Santos Escobar. But Carlito makes the save. He is officially in the LWO. Look, he's wearing the shirt, everybody. So he made the save for Santos Escobar. Another match we had yesterday, as we said earlier, Cameron Grimes and Dragon Lee, they lost to Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. This was a fun match. Dragon Lee gets tossed over the barricade outside the ring, so at least he's not involved in the loss. And you have Grayson Waller and Austin Theory with a little double team, and Austin Theory with the 8-town down on Cameron Grimes. And, Lee and Lee both lose yesterday. Good match while it lasted, but, we realized by the end of the night, we only had 3 matches yesterday. I'm sure there were dark matches last night because that live crowd, you do not only give them 3 matches. I wonder if John Cena maybe wrestled afterwards. Maybe Cody Rhodes was there. I haven't looked at the dark matches, but I'm sure that they were there. And the third match for yesterday was Charlotte Flair taking on IYO Sky. The match early on was a little messy. But it picked up. And I tell you, the crowd got into it. I got into it. I didn't think anybody thought Charlotte Flair was possibly going to take it. But the fact that, thank you, POG, 8-town down. Just want to let everybody know. The fact that they made this the main event, we knew Bianca was returning. If you saw my synopsis the day before, all the rumors were Bianca Belair is returning. The rumors were Bianca Belair is going to Crown Jewel. So obviously, you put this as the close, you had somebody else getting involved. No Asuka. Shotzi, I mean, I know she's moderating Halloween Havoc, but talk about a storyline that kind of fizzled out with Shotzi and Bayley. That kind of fizzled out to nothing. But they had a tremendous match yesterday. Damage Control getting involved numerous times. Towards the end, Charlotte Flair tossing Bayley outside the ring. And, the finish was a little sloppy. I mean, there was one camera shot. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was one camera shot where Charlotte was running to one corner and IYO Sky gets out of dodge and Charlotte Flair hits her head on the turnbuckle. And the camera was right behind it. And if you look at it, Charlotte literally just jumped her on. We know what wrestling is, but camera work like that, it was just terrible. That was so bad to see. But even the finish, some people had reflections of Goldberg and Bret Hart when Goldberg did the spear and then that got knocked out. What was supposed to happen was Charlotte was going for the spear yesterday, and IYO Sky got the championship belt, I believe from Dakota Kai, and she had the belt in her hand, and with the referee distracted, I believe by Bayley, Charlotte goes for the spear and IYO Sky picks up the belt. And Charlotte's head was supposed to hit the belt, knock her for a loop, startle her enough where IYO Sky could get the pin. And that's pretty much what we got yesterday. After the match was over, Damage Control, going after Charlotte a little bit further, and here comes Bianca Belair's music. Looked great, made the save. I honestly thought that these two were still technically foes, if you think about it. But she made the save, and she is back. Now, again, there's a lot of people out there that are kind of, annoyed, like, oh, they could have put it right back in the title picture. What are the other options? For real. I mean, I get it. You want to start building some other women for a title shot, but you got 2 women's championships. You have Rhea's title and you have IYO Sky's title. There's not that many women on SmackDown who are credible. Suspension of disbelief that could listen, last night, Charlotte had no shot of winning the championship, but there were moments in that match that, you, for a quick moment, like, holy shit, she may actually get the championship. I mean, this was a really competitive match. And listen, one thing that sticks out of everything the last couple of weeks, IYO Sky is doing a pretty damn good job with that championship. And I don't know if it's props to WWE or anger to WWE, but you remember her reaction in Puerto Rico. So obviously that's out of the ordinary, the location, normal or typical, I don't want to say normal, typical WWE crowds would not be that over for IYO Sky, but they were crazy over for IYO Sky. And WWE still kept her as a heel in Damage Control. So has that popularity worn off a little bit? There's a respect factor. A lot of fans absolutely appreciate IYO Sky's work. And when we get into the PWI 250, you be the judge if maybe even IYO Sky should have been ranked a little bit better than where she was. So Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, still technically on the same page. But if you're going to turn IYO Sky babyface, if you're going to have Bayley ultimately turn on IYO Sky in the near future, then turn Charlotte Flair heel. I know some people want to see Bianca Belair with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. That's an idea also. We got to see. Just because someone is a couple doesn't mean that they both have to be baby faces at the same time or both have to be heels at the same time. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch is a great example of that. Back in the day, Nikki Bella and John Cena, even though they weren't married, is a great example of that. They don't have to both be heels. But when that reality show comes out with Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, Montez Ford's going to get a lot more press. And he's going to be portrayed in a very positive light. Just because he's a heel on SmackDown right now doesn't mean outside of that they don't portray him in a tremendously positive light. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think Charlotte and Bianca will always be around the title picture. We don't have 30, 40 guys, 30, 40 women on the SmackDown roster that you could just mix and match whenever you want. Even the tag team division. Yesterday, we saw another vignette for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I think they're spending too much time in the dark cooking witch's brew. I mean, how many months are we going to get this? And I like the pair. When they were in NXT, you felt that they were on the fast track to the main roster. But they lost that match to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, and they no longer have the titles. And you say to yourself, okay, stop pushing them. I think they screwed up Katana Chance and Kaden Carter quite a bit. They were spectacular in NXT. They came to the main roster, and they came across as bright young stars that could pull upsets. And in a matter of no time, this is my perception of Kaden Carter, Casey Catanzaro, Katana Chance right now. When they got drafted to Raw, a lot of the main, stream wrestling fans did not know them all that much because not everybody watches NXT. But what you felt was, okay, they're rookies coming up from NXT, but they've been together for 4+ years, and they could pull the upset. And in a matter of no time, it's no longer considered an upset. You hate when someone is established doing well and they beat someone and they play off, oh, it's a major upset. Why is it an upset? Seriously, why is it an upset? But they had them do singles matches. They lost way more than they won. And now they come off as just, enhancement talent. And that kind of sucks. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, that aura doesn't feel the same. It feels like they are going to do something with them. But when? I mean, these skits are cool, but after a while, it's like, roll your eyes. No Jade Cargill appearance yesterday, and that's good. That's good. We just had this conversation on Wednesday that you could have, listen, and yes, we all want to see the face-to-face between her and Bianca Belair. That's coming. No worries. But once you do that, you have to start taking Jade Cargill off TV. And the only reason why I say that is that if you start going 2 months of Jade Cargill just looking at a watch, popping up on screens, having faces to faces, you're going to be like, okay, when is she actually going to get in the ring? After a while, it gets a little bit played. Right now, it's still fresh and new and exciting. But if she's not coming to the main roster anytime soon, you have to get people to forget about her a little bit. You want to keep her name out there, but you don't want to give this impression that she's going to debut at any time. We just don't know. Is it Raw, SmackDown, or NXT? They're teasing all 3 brands. So if she's not going to debut on any of them in the very near future, then you got to pull back a little bit because it's going to get tired. Like, who's she going to bump into next? Are you here just to shake hands or are you here to fight? I almost could picture somebody saying that to her in a promo. So, but, we'll get into the PWI. I want to finish just a little bit of SmackDown because Jade Cargill, I'm sure you saw the thumbnail for today's show. I posted a couple of rankings besides Rhea Ripley. Jade Cargill ranked number 14, Charlotte Flair ranked number 21, and Becky Lynch ranked number 29. Let that sink in. Jade Cargill 14, Becky Lynch 29, and Lyra Valkyria 190. So we'll talk about the list. I got the whole list. I got my subscription. We'll get into it. But we got to just get into a couple of more tidbits from SmackDown yesterday. Only 2, but 2 good ones. Actually 3. Kathy Kelly with Kevin Owens. And I originally tweeted it, but then I deleted it right away. I don't want to be an asshole online, but I was like, oh, they actually filmed this at AEW Collision. Yeah, we noticed all the empty seats. We were like, oh, did they do this interview at AEW Collision? Hey, I'm not going to knock AEW right now. I mean, Tony Khan, that's kind of played by now, but AEW's the roster's not bad. But Kevin Owens with Kathy Kelly, decent interview. Kevin Owens, still down, disappointed that he's not with his friend anymore. That's why even more, I think we need Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have to be on each side of that match. But Kevin Owens, a little excited of some matches and some wrestlers that he's never had one-on-one matches with. If I remember correctly, he said that he never had a one-on-one with Rey Mysterio. He never had a one-on-one with Sheamus. What's interesting is they're both baby faces. So it makes you wonder, what's going to happen with Kevin Owens. I don't think Kevin Owens would ever be a full-blown heel on SmackDown right now because of the bloodline. I think Kevin Owens may be more of I'm my own person. I mean, Drew McIntyre is going to turn full-blown heel, but Kevin Owens might still be, not playing his cards. Like, he technically would be looked at as a baby face, but he will also go after baby faces too. But it was a good interview yesterday. And, and by the way, I absolutely enjoyed that Yokozuna shirt. I think I'm going to pick that shirt up for real. Very, very cool shirt. That shirt is available on WWE Shop. And if you go online, about 500 bootleg sites as well. I would buy them through the bootleg sites if they were like $10. But if WWE's selling them for $30, why would I just go to a bootleg site for $5 less when its quality is shit? And you wash it twice and then like half of the picture is faded away. If you look like my gabagools, I don't buy them on bootleg sites. Some are gifted to me, but I have this shirt almost, 9 months? And it still looks new. But Kevin Owens, nice little interview yesterday, kind of, teasing, what he'll be doing next. And then we had Pretty Deadly. And this was funny because when we saw the foot baths in the watch party yesterday, we thought that maybe it's two women. And then we thought, no, this can't be Alba Fire and Isla Dawn because, it's like the light, it's too bright, the lighting. And then as they scrolled the camera up, we saw hairy legs, we saw tattoos, and we were like, oh, no, that's Pretty Deadly. They're getting foot baths, they're getting pampered, and what ends up happening, the feud that I got to be honest with you, I don't mind seeing it continue. I know there's some people online that are like, oh, I'm done with the Brawling Brutes and Pretty Deadly. I actually think that they're having a fun little feud right now. The only thing is, if I was Butch and Ridge Holland, I would have took their boots. And they could have done another little tiny segment where Pretty Deadly was like outside, like running down the street without their shoes on, like trying to chase the Brawling Brutes. Or take their drinks, something. They just brawled and they went away. So, where is Sheamus? Sheamus, I believe, is in New York right now with his wife. Yeah, the Brawling Brutes, they're trying to keep a little distance from Sheamus. Sheamus, who knows, maybe he ends up feuding with Kevin Owens next. But Sheamus, where needed, is, Sheamus is there to remind everyone that the Brawling Brutes' value is it adds value to the Brawling Brutes. Just like, when you have Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, you're going to have Santos Escobar or Zelina Vega or Carlito by their side. You will not have Rey unless Santos is there. If you ever notice that, Rey never comes out just for Cruz and Joaquin. And speaking of Rey, yesterday, last Sunday sit down before, was ever talked about, we were emailed that they're going to do something with him and Rey Mysterio. Then I saw the Logan Paul footage after he won his fight. He called out Rey Mysterio. I'm like, okay, there's no exclusive news here. You can figure it out. If you're going to name drop Rey Mysterio at a boxing match, you're doing something with him. And as I said last week, I was very happy to see that crowd reaction at that boxing event because I'm not one of those back in the day. I mean, we do reminisce from yesteryear, which is fun, good times back then. But 20 years ago, if a boxer name dropped that they wanted to challenge a wrestler, even if that boxer made appearances, like let's say Evander Holyfield, because he appeared on WWE a couple of times, at least twice, I think. If he won a boxing match, says, I want Matt Hardy. You know what I mean? I think people would be like, nothing against Matt Hardy, but boxing didn't take wrestling seriously. But wrestling now is, to me, I know this sounds a little bit corny. I don't mean cornet, but 20, 30 years ago, well, actually 40 years ago in the 80s, wrestling, if you told someone that was not a wrestling fan, hey, what do you think about wrestling? Their response would be fake shit. Oh, that fake shit. That's what they would say. I think in the 90s and even the 2000s, if you said about wrestling, I think it would, the answer would be about something attitude era, like something about that. I think today wrestling is viewed by other sports fans out there that are not wrestling fans. I think they view it as athletic performance art. It's like performance art meets athleticism. Like it's an athletic form of performance art, or maybe vice versa. You know, that's how I think people, because, you know, listen, you see Logan Paul do what he does. You see even Bad Bunny. And by the way, I'm going to watch Bad Bunny on Saturday Night Live, even though I'm not a big fan of Bad Bunny. I don't like his music. I don't listen to that music. You know, it just me. But, you know, what I was told about the SNL segment, we were talking about this yesterday in the watch party, is that Bad Bunny actually did have the long hair, did the segment, and then shaved his head and did the other segment. I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense, because you're not going to do the opposite. You're not going to do the first segment with a shaved head and then wear a wig or your butt. That's not a wig. Trust me. I don't care. You go to Hollywood, I'll give you $10,000. I want my hair to look just like Bad Bunny. If you see the way, you know, so we'll see. But yesterday, Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul had a confrontation. And I got to be honest with you, I was a little underwhelmed by it. Logan Paul still walking down the rampway and slapping hands with it. Even one person is wrong. You're a heel. You're an asshole. You do not show any I don't care if somebody's wearing Logan Paul shirts, has a Pokemon card around their neck. You just go down to the ring. You got to no-sell everybody. But he goes into the ring. He talks about his recent match overseas. He talks about how, you know, the first match he ever won was against Rey Mysterio, even though it was a tag match. He talks about the last time, you know, that when he fought Roman Reigns, you know, was around, and LA Knight didn't even have a job. And, you know, he's trying to troll the fans a little bit. He just beat up a deadbeat dad, so he wants to beat up another deadbeat, as in Rey Mysterio. Like, he doesn't want Rey. He doesn't care about Rey, but he wants that title. He wants the United States Championship. Yes, forced, impromptu, but Rey Mysterio comes out there. And they have a little bit of a confrontation. And Logan Paul, you know, making his case. Rey Mysterio, you know, issuing like a little bit of threat to Logan Paul. He puts the belt on the floor. Go ahead, try to cross the line. But Logan Paul extends his hand. And I think you honestly could account to Queen Dishi. 15 seconds. Logan Paul has his hand out, and Rey, Rey, kick him in the nuts if you're not worried, or, you know, don't let go of the hand. Logan Paul's got his hand out there, and you're like, unos, dos, tres, cuatro. And you see Rey going like this. Cinque, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez, undici, dodici. Yes, I know how to count. Then he finally shakes his hand. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody's going to hit a cheap shot. Or maybe Rey doesn't let go to the hand. I see a crown jewel. But they shake hands. And Logan Paul just leaves. And I'm like, all right, they'll probably get physical next week or the week after, probably the week after, because you want to blow all your load on FS1 next week. Roman Reigns, LA Knight will be there. That's enough. So we'll probably see the contract signing in 2 weeks between those two guys. But it just felt a little bit underwhelming yesterday. And yes, this is a match that nobody expected would happen. But Logan Paul wants the United States Championship. And listen, you know, Logan Paul said something yesterday that was interesting because the crowd didn't know how to react to it. Logan Paul pretty much was talking about his match overseas and was kind of embarrassed by it, embarrassed by his opponent, even though he won. And he made a remark saying that if I want a real fight, I'll come to WWE. And it was a compliment. And the crowd was like very, very mixed reaction because they didn't know, like, is he actually like praising WWE? Is he mocking it? No, it was 100% praise. But because his promos sometimes go all over the place, sometimes people don't know exactly how to react to some of the things that he says. But the question is, could Logan Paul win the United States Championship? Do you want Logan Paul to win the United States Championship? Shouldn't there be at least one title change in Saudi Arabia? Doesn't it feel like something? The only thing is Logan Paul going to pick up where John Cena leaves off? Think about that for a minute. John Cena is going to be leaving to go back to Hollywood right after Crown Jewel. He might be on the SmackDown right after Crown Jewel. Maybe not. But he's leaving to go back to Hollywood. I'm wondering if Logan Paul, for the next few months, is going to be that placeholder, that extra name that is on SmackDown in addition to the main roster. Because Roman is not there every single week. I think they will amp that up a little bit going into Survivor Series. And then they're going to save a little bit of bullets for Royal Rumble and then Road to WrestleMania. But if Logan Paul is going to be around for many weeks leading into Survivor Series, would you have a problem with him winning the United States Championship? Because as much as I'm not a fan of Logan Paul, I mean, he could go. You know, I mean, I don't know how much he needs to really like practice against one particular opponent. But when those matches go down, you could see his reactions are spot on. You know, there's one thing in wrestling. That's why we used to always criticize like Dana Brooks and others out there. Sometimes you can't force timing. And, you know, I don't want to compare it to a drunk driver, but let me say it like this. Not everybody's reaction is the same. Like if I shit on this rag and my wife is sleeping and I have a piece of shit on this rag and while she's sleeping, I go like this. It might take her like 15 seconds to, oh, what is that? Someone else, as soon as you put it up to their mouth, oh, you know, like their reaction is, I'm saying, when somebody drinks and gets behind the wheel and there's a train coming, like a bad Roadrunner cartoon, and there's a train coming and you're driving down the street and you see the train tracks like 2 blocks away and there's a train coming. Oh, look at the pretty train. And then disaster happens. Reactions, you got to have split-second reactions. That's why even when we criticize some of the women's wrestling in AEW, nothing against them, but, you know, you see like they have to build a cadence, like stop, pause, then run the rope to do the move, because there's got to be, you have to have that cadence to build the timing. So when you nail it, it's almost like when you do Olympics, when you do that, what's that jump with the big stick? What's that jump? Someone in the chat room bail me out. It's Saturday. It's still early for me. What, the javelin? Not the one that you throw, but the one you stick and you go over the thing. Like you stand there and then you got to start running and time it. And then as soon as you get to that high jump, thank you, VersaPro. Like when you get to that line, you have to build up a certain momentum. So when you get to that line and you stab that thing into the ground, you nail it. If your timing is off, it looks like a bad Benny Hill episode. So Logan Paul, when he's in the ring, his freaking reactions are so quick. Even Bad Bunny, there's some people that have it, and there's some people that they have to think about before they do something, even if that thought takes a second or two. That may not sound like a lot of time, but if you have to wait a second before you have a reaction to something, it does not look good. So Pole vault. Thank you. First, you got it wrong. Thank you, everybody else. Pole vault. That's what it is, the pole vault. So I think Logan Paul has a legit chance of winning this championship. Legit, for real. The last segment that we have to talk about from SmackDown yesterday was the confrontation between Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. As we talked about for well over a month, they made it official yesterday that Roman Reigns will be defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against LA Knight at Crown Jewel. We've had this conversation numerous times in the past, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. But we know Cody Rhodes is finishing the story. There's not many opponents that you could choose right now against Roman Reigns where you know the outcome, but you don't care. You still want to see it. You know what I mean? It's almost like even a movie. Like, you know what the end of the movie is going to be, but you still want to see the movie. And I want to see this movie. As we talked about with Stone Cold, we brought it up this past week. Stone Cold won the WWF Championship, if I remember correctly, in 1998. He became Stone Cold in 1997, maybe even 1996. The latter part, he was Stone Cold for about a year plus, and he was over for well over a year. He wrestled heavyweight champions from Bret Hart to others and lost. But at the same time, he was building. Nobody at the time said, Steve Austin's being buried. He can't win the big one. I'm telling you, I was doing my hotline at that time. And even if Steve Austin lost to The Undertaker, lost to Bret Hart, lost to this person, you know, WWE did a great job of not showing weakness. Plus, when Steve Austin is a heel, it's a lot easier to lose because the crowd is happy that you lost. But with Steve Austin, it was a little bit different because he was a badass and people were digging his shit, even though he was a heel. So by the time he started going with Bret Hart in WrestleMania, when Ken Shamrock was the referee, at the end of the match, Bret was the heel and Steve Austin was the face, even though Steve Austin still remained same person. But for the crowd, yeah, I want to see him. But LA Knight, even in defeat, this is the biggest match of LA Knight's career. And I'm pretty confident, based on what I've seen over the last 2 months, that LA Knight has it. Not to be world champion now, but he has it to be a bona fide, long-term WWE main eventer. And if the stars are aligned, if the time is right, he will become heavyweight champion. The problem right now is Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. First and foremost, that is the problem right now. Number two, Seth Rollins' championship is on Raw. LA Knight is on SmackDown. LA Knight is not going to take Seth Rollins' championship anytime soon. That's going to be for Drew McIntyre, possibly Gunther next year. So things have to change in order for LA Knight to become a world heavyweight champion. The story needs to be finished. The draft needs to go down. And then I think if LA Knight has a chance of winning any heavyweight championship, it's going to be Seth Rollins' title. Because once Cody finishes the story, you know, we got to see what happens with Cody. Who does he lose the title to? You know, does Cody still walk around with one belt? Does Cody remain only on SmackDown? Roman Reigns, technically, is the champion of all of WWE. So why wouldn't Roman Reigns show up on Raw? But you can't do that with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the world heavyweight champion, but it is for Raw. Triple H gave that championship because that title is not on Raw. So if LA Knight becomes heavyweight champion, it's not going to be till next year. It's probably going to be Seth Rollins' championship, but there's no rush. There's no rush. Even in defeat, he will win in this. It will take him to that next level. No, I don't believe he'll have that Steve Austin moment like Bret Hart. I mean, if you take away that blood and Steve Austin passing out, I don't know, how the crowd, I mean, Steve would have still ultimately been a babyface in the fans' eyes, but, that moment is what made him. LA Knight, it's plus Roman, you're not going to have Roman put an armbar or something on LA Knight and have him pass out from the pain. I don't think anybody wants to see LA Knight lose simply because he passed out. I mean, my God, there's a lot that you could see in LA Knight that is stone cold in The Rock. Even the way LA Knight told Paul Heyman yesterday, shut up. It sounded so much like Steve Austin back in the day. I mean, you look at LA Knight, you see the vest, you see the way he walks. He's got the boots sometimes. And the way he tells Paul Heyman, shut up. It's definitely inspired by wrestlers of yesteryear. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, despite what Kevin Nash and some others say. But Paul Heyman comes out there and he brings up the Crown Jewel match. And he talks about LA Knight, gives him some praise. But, Roman Reigns is going to be victorious at Crown Jewel. LA Knight comes out and they get a little bit of a confrontation. Roman Reigns is not there. And LA Knight is not thrilled that Roman Reigns is not there. But next week there'll be a contract signing. And after a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of comedy fodder, I should add, LA Knight just throws that microphone into Paul Heyman's chest, and Paul Heyman's selling it like $1 million. But no attack from Solo Sikoa, no attack from Jimmy Uso, but it sets up next week with the contract signing. Now, programming note, you need to remember, I'm sure everybody online will remind you, and we'll talk about it a couple of times during the week. Next Friday, SmackDown is on FS1. And I believe that's because of baseball playoffs. I'm assuming it's baseball playoffs. So next week, SmackDown, FS1. And as of right now, what they announced for SmackDown next week, I believe it's Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio. Someone in the chat, was it Santos and Rey versus the Street Profits? I know Carlito is not in the match. And again, I'm like, why is Carlito not wrestling? That's not cool. That's not cool. Why is Carlito not wrestling? But I think that, Santos and Rey versus the Street Profits next week. I mean, make it a 6-man tag. Carlito's not advertised for Crown Jewel. He's advertised for Rochester. And again, the fact that Carlito was advertised for Rochester tells you that card was updated a week ago. Because before Fastlane, no one knew for sure if Carlito was going to be appearing. So the fact that his name is listed there means that it was updated very recently. But, and who knows, maybe Logan Paul shows up next week and cause a little disarray. But yesterday's SmackDown, despite only 3 televised matches, I thought it was a great episode. The first hour flew by fast. Second hour, was good as well. And it sets up some big matches for Crown Jewel. And the next we have to see is if it's John Cena and Solo Sikoa and if Bianca Belair takes on Bayley once again. All right. Couple of things right off the bat. Just some quick Rampage results from yesterday. We had Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta over Brian Keith and Exodus Prime. Mystico retains his pound-for-pound crown. Turn that frown upside down. Mystico retained his pound-for-pound crown. He beat Ricky Romero 2-1. John Silver won a 3-way over Isaiah Cassidy, Kip Sabian. So John Silver will face Orange Cassidy tonight at Battle of the Belts. And Sky Blue, didn't she lose? I think she lost to Ruby Soho. And I think Saraya had some interference there. Collision tonight. Tony Khan was going to have a dream match tonight. Dream match for who? Andrade versus Bryan Danielson. I like the matchup. Did I have a dream about it? No. But the madness continues, everyone. Action Andretti, the lowest rated, that should become a shirt for him. The lowest rated segments in Collision every time he's been on. Every time Action Andretti's been on Collision, it's the lowest rated of the entire show. He's taking on Miro. We have Ricky Starks and Big Bill defending the AEW Tag Team titles against Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli. Something on this picture is pissing me off as I'm looking at it. I think you could all figure it out. No, it is not the Memphis Street fight between Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Kingston. That is going to be an absolute clusterfuck. Hopefully it'll be fun. But what the fuck is that I see in the center? FTR will be in action. Why did FTR drop those tag titles 2 weeks ago in 9 seconds? And I know I'm exaggerating, but why did they drop everybody, including me, were under the impression through some legitimate people that Cash Wheeler has a serious injury and cannot compete, so they had to take the titles off that. They're fucking wrestling tonight. Why does MJF still have the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship if Adam Cole cannot compete? Like I said, I know it doesn't make me lose sleep at night, but, little things like that, it just feels like a hot mess. So, all right. Before we get into the PWI 250, and we got to piss you off with a little bit of Lacey Evans news. Couple of matches announced for Raw this Monday. We will have Becky Lynch defending the NXT Women's Championship against Indy Hartwell. Don't forget, the following day, she'll be defending it against Lyra Valkyria. We will be doing a watch party. The watch party is set, so you're welcome to join me. Brian Pillman Jr., now known as Lexus King, will be making his in-ring debut, and we'll do predictions for night one on Monday's show. Also, on Monday, we have Sami Zayn taking on Drew McIntyre. And they just announced this match yesterday on SmackDown. We're going to have Damian Priest taking on Jey Uso. Feels like a lot of rinse and repeat, doesn't it? It does. All right. Couple of plugs. Don't forget, if you want to check out this past Wednesday's episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite, it is on DonTony.com. It is also on Patreon. And for channel members, they ad-free versions there, and you got to go to DonTony.com right now for the episodes. Also, the Q&A from Thursday is done. It will be uploaded next week for everyone. Tomorrow night at 8:05 p.m. will be a next edition of the Sit Down right here, and then Tuesday night after the watch party, Kevin and I will be back with your next edition of the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. We'll be talking about a whole lot of what is going on in the world of pro wrestling. So just a couple little previews. All right. Bound for Glory is tonight, and we will do some quick predictions and the lineup after we talk about the PWI Top 250. And we'll close out with that, and then I'm going to get out of here for today. I appreciate everybody who is here live. For those on the archive, thank you as well for all your support. And just keep, spreading the word that we're still around. We won't go away. We won't go away. Actually, yeah, we actually got something else. I got to mention this because this is a big deal. I probably should have even mentioned it a little bit earlier, but that there's a lot of people out there that is still trying to push this narrative that CM Punk is going to be at Survivor Series in Chicago. I want to make it clear, crystal clear. I know we are the minority, everyone. That's the problem. When 99% of people out there say one thing and we say the other, we are considered the minority. We are considered the ones that are wrong. The people that said that WWE opted not to sign CM Punk is bullshit, because the contract was never drafted up. It was never proposed. It was never given to lawyers. There was not. CM Punk has yet to meet with WWE officials. CM Punk has yet to meet with Triple H, has yet to meet with Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins has yet to do any of that stuff. And we're supposed to believe that WWE opted not to sign him. All that shit needs to go down first. When you go to get a job, usually have to have a job interview first, and then they have to see how well did you come across. Does this guy sound like, or girl sound like they know what they're talking about? Are they a moron? Do they smell like shit? There's a lot of things. You know, maybe the person doesn't look good for the superficial people out there. There's so many things that CM Punk has to do before even a contract is considered. So you can't believe that bullshit online. Unfortunately, we're the minority, so people don't believe us. We will be right. And as it gets closer to WrestleMania, you will see people change their story to, it is possible that CM Punk could appear at WrestleMania. It is possible that he didn't sign. Remember, the night before WrestleMania 39, some of those biggest journalists out there that had paid 6 digits were telling you, it is possible that Cody Rhodes has not signed with WWE. And my sources tell me that there's nothing to... All right, but I'm telling you, CM Punk will not be at Survivor Series. Chicago fans, hopefully none of them bring a sign that says, I paid to see CM Punk at Survivor Series. It's not happening. It's too soon. Not going to rock the boat this early in the year. But there is somebody that is heavily rumored to return in 2023, and a lot of people are pointing to Survivor Series for a few reasons. And that person is Randy Orton. The reason why Randy Orton is now the topic of conversation is because Randy Orton has been seen at the Performance Center. Few people behind the scenes have said that Randy is in great shape, that Randy physically is a lot better, and don't want to say fully healed. I don't know if you could ever say that Randy Orton is fully healed, but they are preparing for a Randy Orton return. Some websites are, I'm sorry to say it like this, but they're feeding you bullshit by saying, oh, there's merchandise in order. Yeah, there's fucking merchandise in order for anybody that returns. They could have said 2 months ago, WWE has merchandise ready for Carlito. When Sasha Banks, when it gets close to Sasha Banks returning, we're going to report breaking news, everyone. WWE is okay. They're going to release new merchandise for Sasha Banks. It is all ready to go. You'd say that about anybody that's returning. So when you see WrestleVotes, oh, WWE is signing. Yeah, show me a fucking picture of the merchandise you're talking about. It's common sense, everyone. That's not news. But the buzz with Randy Orton returning is real. And the reason why Survivor Series appears to be the most likely scenario is to eliminate the noise about CM Punk appearing at Survivor Series. No, you're not going to bring back Randy Orton just to shut people up about, like, oh, I want candy. Oh, I want candy. Well, here's chocolate instead. You're going to have Randy Orton come back because he's ready, because there's a story ready to go. Maybe he attacks Cody. Maybe that's the feud going into the winter time. I don't know. But as of right now, Survivor Series appears to be the target date for Randy Orton to return. And if Randy Orton does return, it'll be because he is ready, not to pacify the people who believe the wrong people online that CM Punk absolutely must return at Survivor Series in Chicago. See, that's the difference between WWE and a lot of other companies out there. They're not going to put the hometown hero as the main eventer, as a star, or anything else, simply because they're in a town. When was the last? I mean, it's different with Drew McIntyre Clash at the Castle, and if Gunther goes back to his country, or even Rhea Ripley in Australia, it's different. But it's not going to be the focal point. Australia's own. Australia may do that. Local media may do that. Fans may do that. WWE doesn't do that. They may do it in a local area to sell tickets, which is smart. But as far as perception of what we view, You know, they will advertise it, but they're not going to rush CM Punk back simply because they're in Chicago. That motherfucking building is going to be sold out because it's WWE and because it's Survivor Series. Just like the morons for 5 months that sold you that The Rock and Roman Reigns was, remember, the marquee match that WWE wants for WrestleMania 40. It was never happening. It was never happening. And after the confrontation last week with Roman and Cody, and everybody in the media is now teasing Cody. WWE on Fox teased it yesterday. Do you want to see Cody versus Roman too? All the fake news were forced to admit, oh, there are no plans for The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Where did you get that from? Jose, the janitor? He overheard Vince or overheard Triple H? How did this suddenly come out? And ironically, it came out 2 hours after SmackDown went off the air last week. Once they saw Cody and Roman with that stare down, oh, shit. Fuck, we can't tease Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania 40 anymore. Fuck, we got to come up with something else. That's what happened. So Randy Orton, if he is able to return, he will return, and the target date is Survivor Series. Baked in storyline, yeah. Could he be a surprise entrant in a Survivor Series match? Yeah. Could they announce it beforehand? Yeah. I'd rather be teased. I'd rather be surprised. As long as Randy Orton does not come out with Carlito's music. As long as we don't get any... No. I swear to God, no, we won't even go there. All right, so Randy Orton... When I get more information, I will share it with all of you. We'll see what happens. Okay. I don't think fans are going to chant CM Punk in Chicago as much as you think. I mean, Chicago loves CM Punk, but WWE's been in Chicago over the last bunch of years, and they did not hijack the show with CM Punk chants all throughout. You know, if AEW were to return to Chicago, yeah, you would hear that. That would be done intentional. When CM Punk first walked out of WWE, anytime Stephanie or Triple H came on TV, they would chant CM Punk to troll them. There's reasons to do it. That doesn't mean that every single fan is going to do that whenever a wrestling event is in Chicago. You may have some people do it that night because they are convinced CM Punk is returning that night, and I will feel bad for those people because they bought the shit online, hook, line, and sinker. CM Punk is not returning at Survivor Series. CM Punk, if they work out a deal, will happen much later. And as far as that Impact stuff, I brought this up yesterday in a watch party. I'll bring it up here now. I will be shocked beyond belief if CM Punk has a run in Impact, and I'll tell you why. It's not even really about the money aspect of it. I know Ace Steel is working as an agent tonight for Bound for Glory, and he should, because Ace Steel actually is a good trainer, agent, you know, he's producer, whatever. Guy actually does a good job behind the scenes. Unfortunately, you know, we know what happened in AEW. But here's the thing. If I'm WWE, if I'm going to bring in CM Punk for Mania, I have to ink something with him soon. I don't need to have the dotted line signed yet, but this is a business, and WWE is owned by TKO Group Holdings. It's not a handshake, I'll see you in 4 months and we'll start the build. Something has to be in stone. And if I'm WWE and I'm bringing CM Punk back, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania surprise, whatever it is, I don't want CM Punk on any wrestling show between now and then. If CM Punk appears in Impact Wrestling, in my opinion, it's only on one condition. He's only signed there for 2 or 3 months at the most. There will be a gap between the time he is off TV and he returns to WWE. Because if I'm WWE, the more CM Punk is not on any wrestling TV set, the more you anticipate what could happen, what should happen, you know, what will happen. You see him back in Impact. Impact could try to convince you that he's there for the foreseeable future. That's what Will Ospreay's doing right now. Do you honestly think, as much as I'm rooting for Impact right now, I root for Impact. Some of their shows I watch, they're not bad. But does anybody honestly think that Impact Wrestling is going to spend that much money to ink Will Ospreay to an exclusive deal for any long extended period of time? Of course not. Even Trinity's not there for years. As far as I know, it's a short-term deal. But he'll portray, Impact is in the cards. Yeah, I'm considering all options. But at the end of the day, Impact, unfortunately, guys, you see how many people show up. They don't make enough revenue. Even the TV ratings, they can't even get 150,000 viewers anymore. It's just the subscriptions are extremely low. My God, you have so many outlets out there that don't even bother to cover Impact Wrestling anymore. They don't cover their ratings. They only cover ratings when you get 10 people that'll publicly complain about it. I try to give them a little bit of play, but if CM Punk were to show up in Impact, a very short period of time. And if you do, who's he going to feud with? Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley? And how long does that go? There's nobody really in Impact where people I got to see that. What, Kenta? Maybe Tony Khan will want to see that. I have nothing against Kenta, but do I really oh God, CM Punk and Kenta tonight? I have to watch that. There's nobody. Jordan Grace, against CM Punk. And I'm not saying anything to be funny. You got to think, okay, he's there. Now what? Okay. You know what I'll do? I'll give you the Bound for Glory lineup right now, since it's only going to take 2 minutes. Then we'll finish up with the PWI. Top 250 to women's. So Bound for Glory is tonight. And we have 8 matches lined up. Not a bad card. They are doing Hall of Fame ceremony tonight. Mike Tenay and Don West will be inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I have not seen Mike Tenay in ages. Unfortunately, Don West passed away not too long ago. Don West was someone that grew on me as he went along. And if you ever tune into any of my history episodes, when we bring up TNA, the one thing you probably heard me sound like a broken record is he was so into the matches he was watching that you could not fake that. He was so into wrestling, and he did well with Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay, I hated him in WCW because anytime he did a sit-down interview, he would have these dramatic, horribly acted facial features. If you applied for a movie, they wouldn't even use you as a dead person. He would interview David Flair on a couch, and Mike Tenay would be like this. It's like me when I look down in the shower. Oh! You ever see Mike Tenay in WCW? He does those interviews. He's always beyond angry. And he's got these wild looks oh my God. But he was great with Don West. They're going to be put into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame tonight. And as you see, they will be inducted by Scott D'Amore. And Mike Tenay is there. I have not seen him in ages. Someone else going into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame tonight is Tracy Brooks. I think last time we said Trinity by mistake. Tracy Brooks, well-deserved. Top tier wrestler in the company? No, but she had a very important piece of history amongst the knockouts. And she is beloved in Impact Wrestling. She'll be inducted tonight by Gail Kim. The match lineup for tonight, we have Will Ospreay taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. If you are teasing Will Ospreay signing to a possible deal, staying with Impact, you need Will Ospreay to win this match. Interesting to see Will Ospreay get this much play when we thought that he was all elite. Then again, I don't recall them cutting promos about his 81,035 tattoo. But Mike Bailey, man, that's a guy that you would think by now should be much further on the wrestling food chain. Great wrestler. This match may be one of the ones that steal the show tonight, but Will Ospreay is getting the win in this match. Next, we have Chris Sabin defending the X Division Championship against Kenta. I still can't get past it, everyone. I will never forget when Chris Sabin won the Impact TNA Heavyweight Championship. They did that press conference. I still have the video and the audio. He did this whole inspirational speech of, I think, about a major back injury and how he scraped and he clawed and he worked and he had countless sleepless nights, but he finally came back and he won the big one. And nobody clapped. And it was this awkward pause. It's like, oh, and let's continue. It was just, I felt so bad for him. But to me, I never got past that moment. I think Kenta needs to win this X Division Championship. Chris Sabin, you know, obviously his history, Alex Shelley, who's also a champion. But I think you need to do something with Kenta. If he doesn't win this championship, move on. Because Kenta, he should be much more out there as far as wrestling coverage goes. But I'm going with Kenta because I think they need a change with that X Division Championship. We have Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovic, the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, taking on Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo. I tell you, I would like to see Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo win this. Deonna Purrazzo, I don't know what it is. She got let go from WWE. She showed up in Impact. You could see right away that Impact was trying to make people quickly forget about Tessa Blanchard. And they did a good job with Deonna Purrazzo, but it feels like for the last 6 months, Deonna Purrazzo doesn't have that aura that she had in the past. And I think putting the tag titles on them would be a good way to go. Now, listen, I mean, a lot of people are digging Masha and Killer Kelly as a tag team champions. But I personally think you have to create a little bit more of a buzz. I mean, you know, they're great as the Knockouts tag titles, but I think something needs to be stirred up a little bit, especially when we get towards the main event tonight, which probably will close out the show. And it's not Trinity's match. But I have a feeling MK Ultra will retain. But for me, I would want Deonna Purrazzo and Tasha Steelz to get those tag team titles tonight. We have the Rascals, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, defending the Impact Tag Team Championship against Chris Bay and Ace Austin. This was Chris Bay's Feast or Fired. Remember when he did the Feast or Fired match and he got the Feast? He chose to get the tag team title shot. I am going with the Rascals to retain. Interesting enough, I know this is not going to be in a synopsis. I'm just going to throw it out there. You know, on Wednesday Night Dynamite, we talked about Trick Williams getting attacked. And the storyline feels too obvious that it's Carmelo Hayes that did it. What if it was Wesley? I just think that the Rascals, you know, they got some great momentum right now. Wesley, I believe, is going to be returning in the very near future. And I want to go with the Rascals to retain. A lot of people are wondering what's going on with Wesley. They gave him a little bit of a break, but he is about to return. You know, but I'm going with One Full Podcast says, no shit. You show me where somebody said to you that it was Wesley that attacked him. Or you said that somewhere. Show it to me anywhere. No one said Wesley attacked him. Because right now people would be like, it doesn't make sense. And it sort of doesn't make sense. But I'm going to go with the Rascals to retain. Chris Bay got the shot, but he will shoot his shot and he will lose. See, Xia Li, when someone says anytime, any place, on my terms, and walk away, you snooze, you lose. In fact, I would love for Becky Lynch to lose that championship, and then she bump into Xia Li, and then she looks at Xia Li, and you say, you snooze, you lose. And then I have Xia Li beat the fuck out of Becky Lynch, and we get a Xia Li Becky Lynch feud for 2 weeks with no titles on the line. The call your shot. We've been saying the word shot a little bit too many times on this show. Shoot your shot, call your shot, shot. See? We have the call your shot gauntlet. It'll be 20 people in it. And the winner gets a trophy and a contract that they can invoke anytime within 1 year for a championship match of their choosing. Now, the problem is there's 20 people in this match. Not all 20 have been announced. So far, announced is Eddie Edwards, Giselle Shaw, Kenny King, Frankie, no longer the future Kazarian, Joe Henry, and that's not a criticism, Bully Ray, Jody Threat. That's because Frank Kazarian is here. I'm trying to bail myself out. Kylan King, Shira, Brian Myers, Jordan Grace, Eric Young, Champagne Singh, Dirty Dango, and Jake something. I think it's either going to be somebody that has not yet been announced or it's going to be Jordan Grace. The thing is, I don't know where they're going with Jordan Grace right now as far as the bigger picture, but I could see Jordan Grace, if she stays around, could show up, challenge Trinity unexpected, win that championship back. I don't think RVD is going to be there. I think RVD is working in Dynamite on Wednesday. Tuesday. Sorry, Wednesday. But hey, never know. But I think it's either going to be somebody unannounced or it's Jordan Grace. Out of that whole list, she's the only person that stands out to me that should get a trophy and a contract and possibly win a title in the near future. All right, continuing on. Let's see what else we got. We just got a couple of matches left. We have 3 more. The Monsters Ball match. This is going to be pretty wild. PCO versus Rhino versus Steve Macklin versus Moose. Monsters Ball match. PCO appears to be on his way out. I haven't heard anything about a contract extension. Maybe I'm just a little behind, but I don't think so. Rhino, it's Rhino. We like Rhino. But I don't know if Rhino should be winning this Monsters Ball. Moose, believe it or not, I think Moose needs to show up in AEW, team up with Hobbs, and not because they're both two giantly muscular, great shape, great looking black guys. I think they could be like an ice, not fire and ice, but I think they would be a crazy good tag team. Seriously. I believe it or not, I'm going with Steve Macklin. I'm not even a fan of Steve Macklin, but I'm looking at this match and I'm like, yeah, I think Steve Macklin is probably going to win this. It feels like he's the only one that should win this. PCO's had so many crazy matches. This win is not going to do anything. Rhino, it's Rhino. It's nostalgia. And Moose, I'm just not feeling it. So I'm going with Steve Macklin to take this one. Now, remember the last time we did Impact predictions, I got every match right except for one. I don't remember which one I got wrong, but I think we got like 8 out of 9 right. This is interesting. Trinity defending the Knockouts Women's Championship against Mickie James. They're no longer doing that retired storyline, and I don't see any stipulation over here. It's just for the title. Does somebody get involved in this match? Do we get a clusterfuck finish? That's where I'm feeling with this. I think Trinity retains his championship, but I think there's going to be an asterisk next to it. I think somebody's going to get involved in this match. Trinity will still win, or she'll retain her championship. That might be better wording. Mickie James. Hey, you know what? Relaxing Ghost, I'll piggyback your idea. Maybe Jordan Grace wins the gauntlet earlier, and then later in the night cashes in the contract, takes on Trinity abruptly, and either makes it a 3-way or 1-on-1 and wins the title tonight. So if Jordan Grace wins that contract, who knows? She might cash in tonight. And Jordan Grace may end up leaving bound for glory as your Knockouts champion. That leaves us one match. And that is Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander. Alex Shelley has not killed it in the ratings. It hasn't made a dent. Alex Shelley could still go. Alex Shelley, I think, unfortunately, for their 1,000th episode, for those 2 weeks, Impact realized that fans that tune in now were not interested in nostalgia. And older fans still weren't, they weren't, what's the right word to use? They weren't enticed enough to tune in. Their ratings went down for the 2 weeks of the 1,000 episode anniversary. I mean, I'm not comparing it to Roman 1,000, but when you have 1,000 celebration of anything, that's supposed to be a big deal. You would think some people from yesterday, I haven't watched Impact in a while. Oh, they could have all the, look, Awesome Kong is back and Gail Kim and, this person, and look, it's whoever. And their rating went down. So nostalgia is not in, the choice for Impact fans right now. I think Alex Shelley winning it was unexpected. It was a cool moment. I get this feeling they're going to give it back to Josh Alexander. I just feel that unless maybe CM Punk does show up, not tonight, but maybe CM Punk does show up and he challenges Alex Shelley and has a feud. But right now, Alex Shelley just not feeling it, not feeling it enough. So I'm going with Josh Alexander to win that match. Okie dokie. Let's finish up with the PWI 250. As you saw all over the net, Rhea Ripley is ranked number 1 this year. From September to September, we should say. I have the criteria for those that are curious. Now, I want to make this clear. The PWI Top Anything is not what it used to be. It still is a conversation piece. And for the wrestlers involved, being acknowledged, recognized, and celebrated is a good thing. And these lists are not shit when there's enough effort and, legitimate, honest work put into it. Unfortunately, many times over, it is an emotional hand job for a lot of people. And, there's a lot on this list that I agree with. The insistence of putting Japanese wrestlers high up on this list. I'm going to say this because nobody else does. I don't see no fucking Japanese magazines out there that do their top 10 hundreds of the year, fucking putting all American wrestlers all over the list. We're in the United States of America. And Pro Wrestling Illustrated is focused and is based in the United States. In the United, listen, this is not about country versus country. Let me finish my point. In the United States of America, about 98% of the viewers do not watch Japanese wrestling. They don't watch AAA. They don't watch, wrestling in those countries. So when you look at this criteria, the criteria is based on in-ring achievement. Win-loss records, championships, and tournaments won. Okay, that's fine. But getting a win and you're beating enhancement talent is much different than getting a win in wrestling for 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so that first criteria is very incomplete, but we'll go with it. Influence, visibility, and prestige within a promotion and or the industry. See how they use and or? Because for some of these Japanese talents, they're not very visible across the masses in the United States, the UK, and beyond. And they don't have much prestige. But in their own promotion, even if their promotion only draws 100, they are very visible. So they use the and or the or to justify some of these names. Technical ability. Quality of moves, matches and in-ring psychology. Okay. All right. We'll remember that when we get into You Don't Know Me. You Don't Know Me. I'm not trying to rag on Marina Shafir. I'm a fan of hers. I feel bad for that promo, but so far I don't see where she factors into any of what we talked about. But then again, maybe she made the influence, because we keep talking about her, activity. A minimum of 10 singles matches. 10 fucking matches in a year, everyone. That would be one match every 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Let me wrestle for Schmuck Indie Wrestling in Texas and win every single one of my matches and be all the ranking committee. Kristen Ashley, don't know her. Pat LeBrand, I have heard of. Candice Cordelia, I don't know. Karen Peterson, I don't know. Warren Hayes, I do. Patricia Rogers, I think she handles a lot of Japanese wrestling. I'm not sure. Kevin McElvaney, I have heard of. And the rest. The list prioritizes success in singles competition and in vying for individual women's accolades. The numbers in parentheses next to each name indicate the wrestler's total years competing professionally and placement on last year's list. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you got the criteria, eh? So let's get into this list. Now, I'm not going to read the whole 250. After we get like past 10 or 20, we will get into just some of the bigger names out there. And unfortunately, I can't put like big screenshots because you have to buy the magazine yourself if you want that. But we could show a little bit here. We could reveal a little skin here. So there you go. Rhea Ripley ranked number 1. I don't think anybody questions that whatsoever. Rhea Ripley, although maybe not have wrestled as many matches as you would expect to have her wrestle in the last 12 months, she by far is the number 1 woman being talked about in wrestling, backing it up in the ring, having quality matches, her character, her presence, everything. She fits all the criteria. Rhea Ripley absolutely has earned number 1. When you look last year, she was ranked 42. So that just shows you in 12 months, forget PWI for a minute, just in our perspective as fans, how much she has improved in the last 12 months. A lot of people think she's a leader of Judgment Day. She's doing a phenomenal job. And she's one of those rare wrestlers out there, guys, that gets cheered by the WWE Universe. And then she could say something nasty or say something nice about Dom and get booed out of the building. She gets mommy chants, and then she'll praise Dom, and everybody will boo her. The fucking fans are into her. She has earned number 1. All right. Not every name we're going to stop and talk about, because not every name you all are aware of. Julia, she's been in the business for 6 years. Again, this is one of the cases where it's not that she's not bad. She's tremendous. She was ranked around 60 last year. But this is someone that outside the United States, if I honestly showed a picture of her to 100 wrestling fans, I truthfully believe at least 99 of them would either say, I don't know who that is, or they would get the name wrong. So to have, again, you're talking about influence on the industry, not just the small IWC that gushes. She's not, her name is not big enough to be number 2. Just saying. Extremely talented. Would I have put her in the top 10? Maybe. But when you see the rankings of some, and plus, some of these names on this list, I'm not going to get into specifics, but you could do the research, but you'll be able to figure it out right away. Some people on this list have only wrestled literally 10 matches in 12 months, and they're ranked in like the top 30 or 40. And you say to yourself, how could someone with 10 matches be ranked higher than someone with 80 matches, and won about 75% of them. Especially since this is sports entertainment. It's predetermined. Number 3 on the list, Bianca Belair. Don't have much of a problem with it. I would have maybe put her number 2, or I would have dropped it down on the list. I don't know who I would have put number 2 in her place. I think Bianca Belair is, hey, listen, if Julia ends up in AEW, not the Ring of Honor stuff, AEW, featured on television, getting good matches on Dynamite, and not just the talking segment, a year from now, then you consider her for number 2 or the top 5. Bianca Belair, number 3, I don't have much of a problem with, because there's nobody else really that I would think about that I would want to put on that list in the number 3 spot. Number 4, Jamie Hayter. My only problem with this is she's been out for quite some time. I think Jamie Hayter, with her injuries, I have not counted how many matches she's had in the last 12, from September to September, but she's been out injured for quite some time. So I personally think Jamie Hayter might be a little bit too high on this list. But top 10, no problem with. No problem with. Number 5, Tam Nakano. Again, it goes to what I said earlier. Big in Stardom. Stardom is not a big, promotion featured in the United States and the UK and other countries. So in Japan, yeah, absolutely. But let me put it this way. Back in the 80s, when Conan was the Hulk Hogan of Mexico, would people have accepted Conan as number 2 or number 3 on a PWI top 100 or 200 or 500 simply because he is the most beloved wrestler in Mexico? Especially then with no social media or anything else, we would only know Conan from wrestling magazines. This is not a knock on Conan, but my point is that you're looking at a name. This is not like the Academy Awards that you give some indie movie that was based out of Zimbabwe, the movie of the year, when 99% of the people out there didn't watch it. Tam Nakano is not a big enough name across the masses to warrant something this high. Because Tam Nakano is not drawing flies in the United States right now. And again, Japanese magazines will put her number 1 and others. They're not going to put Rhea Ripley or Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair or others as big as some of their own household names. But they want to do this because they got to please every promotion. They got to please every country out there. So they feature, hey, if we put these Japanese names, we'll get a lot of Japanese buys on it. So you get it. All right. That'll be pretty much the template for some other names on this list a little bit later. Athena, number 6. I think Athena's done a great job in Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, I don't think she's had enough high-profile matches and matches that really matter to be that high in the list. I think she deserves, somewhere in the top 15. But a year ago, she was ranked number 76, I believe. I mean, she got a main event match on a pay-per-view. Okay, that was because of the promoter's choice, than anything else. It felt like they were trying to make a statement. Didn't feel like, oh, she's earned that closeout. And I like Athena, but I think it's a little too high on this list. Okay. And you know that you have to feature some people. Deonna Purrazzo, another one that is subject to debate. It feels like Deonna Purrazzo's been somewhat stuck in the mud for quite some time. 2 years ago, she was ranked number 3. Last year, she was ranked number 19. Does it feel, and I bring those years up for a reason. 2 years ago, she was ranked number 3. Last year, she was ranked number 19. Does it feel like in the last 12 months, Deonna Purrazzo has turned it around and has become the focus of women's wrestling and Impact again? No. That's why I wanted to win the tag titles tonight. Deonna Purrazzo has definitely gotten more buzz from 2022, but not enough to be ranked number 7, in my opinion. And this is not criticism against some of these women, but when you see on the list a little bit later, you'll understand why. Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale is great. She's from my neck of the woods. We all root for her. She's well liked. She is someone that a lot of people never thought that she would be able to get over in AEW, and she's done a great job. You're going to tell me that she is bigger in this industry than Becky Lynch in the last 12 months? Becky Lynch is ranked in the 20s. So, again, Willow Nightingale, great wrestler. I'm a fan. I root for her. She's great. You're going to sell me that she's better than IYO Sky or Asuka or Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair? Come on. This feels like an emotional... You know what this feels like? They gave her a print version of Sherry's Berries. Oh, look, somebody sent me berries. Somebody sent me flowers. That's what it feels like. And it feels like an emotional hug. And this is not a criticism on Willow Nightingale. But somebody there wanted to put this huge smile on her face. That's how this feels like. If I'm Willow Nightingale, seriously, if I'm Willow Nightingale, do I look at this magazine and do I look at some of these wrestlers that are ranked below me and say to myself in the mirror, yeah, you know what? I am 3 times better than this person. Yeah, I am ranked high. I don't know how many people would really be honest like that. Where I would rank her, I would put her in top 20. Absolutely would put her in the top 20. But you're not going to sell me that, she's ranked, especially when you look at, the way she's used. It's Rampage, it's Ring of Honor, it's Collision. Once in a blue moon, it's Dynamite. And you're going to tell me that is bigger? And this is not a Japanese wrestler. This is somebody in the United States. And you're telling me that she's got more of a value right now than the other women I brought up? All right. Ronda Rousey. Wait till we get to Ronda. That's going to piss off some people. All right. We'll be speeding this up after we get to 10. Camille, number 9. This is an interesting one because Camille's only had probably about 15 matches, I think, in the last year. She's had some decent opponents, but, not enough. You're going to say that Camille has had a better 2022 to 2023 than the names I said earlier. I think Camille, top 15. Yes. Top 10? No. Then we round out number 10 with Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace, last year she was ranked number 6. So she actually went down a little bit. Jordynne Grace in the top 10, I don't have a problem with. Jordynne Grace has worked her ass off. No pun intended. She's done enough in the last 12 months that she's earned the top 10 spot, in my opinion. So now we'll run down some random names. And we will take the list off in a little bit because we can't show everything. Number 11, Asuka. Again, you need to put some of those names above Asuka. Number 12, Toni Storm. 13, Masha Slamovic. Number 14, Jade Cargill. Now, yes, Jade Cargill, a network's champion, TBS champion, not trying to knock her, but a lot of her matches were squash. A lot of the matches were a little bit less to be desired. You talk about match quality. That is one of the important criteria. I am a fan of Jade Cargill. I have praised her. I have criticized her, and I believe the hype of what is going on. You're not going to sell me that because AEW decided to give her a Goldberg streak when she was far from ready for it, and a lot of it is squashing squash talent. You put Goldberg in the top 10 and let him fight Prince Iakea 10 times. Let him fight Jimmy Yang Wang and others. And then once in a while, he beat a Raven. He beat this. And you put him in the top 5 or top 10. And you see how people would have reacted in 1998. The reason why Goldberg became this big phenomenon in WCW and became the number 1 guy is because he beat big names. He beat big names. Jade Cargill, what's her greatest match? Might have been her last against Chris Statlander. Seriously, you give me Jade Cargill's top 5 matches that warrant number 14. Why? Because Tony Khan said, no, we're going to give you 90-0, whatever it is. Oh, that by default, she's number 14. As I go through this list, let that number sink in as we get into other people. Roxanne Perez, number 15. As much as I like Roxanne Perez, and she is a future star, you're not going to sell me that Roxanne Perez is ranked higher than Chris Statlander or Becky Lynch or IYO Sky or Chelsea Green. He just, again, I got to see the profiles of some of these people who did this voting. I wonder if some of them are 22-year-old girls that have been watching wrestling for 3 years. I'm very curious to see the bios of some of these people. Or maybe I'm just don't give a shit. All right, number 16, Kairi Sane. Number 17, Mayu Yamashita. We have number 18, Chris Statlander. Number 19, Mizuki. Number 20, Saya. Oh, wait. Did my thing just get blurred on me? Saya Kamitani. That is number 20. We continue on. Hang on. All right. Okay, we continue on. You know what? I will take the list off because we don't want to put the whole magazine on here. I don't want to get my ass in trouble. All right. Number 21, Charlotte Flair. You think of some of the names I already mentioned, and you look at Charlotte Flair. Number 22, Ronda Rousey. You're going to tell me that Ronda Rousey has had a better past 12 months than Trinity, Becky Lynch, and IYO Sky? I think not. Ronda Rousey, number 22. Number 23, Trinity. Number 24, IYO Sky. Number 25, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton has done spectacular in the last 12 months. They're trying to tell us that Tiffany Stratton has had a better 12 months than a Hikaru Shida or a Becky Lynch or a Mickie James and others. But Tiffany Stratton is ranked number 25. Number 26, Taya Valkyrie. 27, Mickie James. 28, Hikaru Shida. 29, Becky Lynch. Number 30, Mayu Iwatani. Number 21, wait, we did 21. There we go. 31, Suzu Suzuki. I wonder how many of you out there know who she is. Number 32, Nicole Matthews. 33, Kenzie Page. 34, Alex Windsor. Now we'll skip through numbers and get into just the names that we primarily know. Britt Baker, number 36. Liv Morgan, number 38. Despite Liv Morgan's injury, you think Britt Baker's had a better past 12 months than Liv Morgan? Okay. I'll leave that up to you. Bailey, number 41. Let's see who else. Number 46, Indy Hartwell. As much as we like Indy Hartwell, remember her name when we get into some additional names shortly. Number 52, Saraya. 56, Billy Starks. Number 59, Raquel Rodriguez. So Indy Hartwell's had a better 12 months than Raquel Rodriguez. Number 60, Maki Ito. Number 61, Mercedes Martinez. Number 63, Giselle Shaw. Number 65, Cora Jade. Has Cora Jade had a worse year than Maki Ito? 69, Steph DeLander. Number 72, Ruby Soho. Number 74, Max the Impaler. Number 75, Zoe Stark. Number 79, Lady Frost. There's some names we haven't mentioned yet. I hope you realize that. Number 85, Kylan King. Number 87, Ami Sakura. Number 89, Sky Blue. Number 90, Killer Kelly. Number 91, Natalia Markova. Let's see. I'm going down the list. Did we get to Shayna Baszler yet? Zelina Vega. Number 102, Natalia 101. Again, you look at some of these names. JC Jane 107. Anna Jay 111. Nyla Rose 113. Shotzi number 119. Going through it, checking a few more. Riho, as Cornette would say, 126. Continuing, Blair Davenport, which I'm a big fan of, 131. Diamante, 135. Madison Rain, 137. Piper Niven, 142. Danny Moe, 147. Chelsea Green, 150. You see how bad this list is falling off the rails. Kiera Hogan, 154. Alicia Edwards, 159. Candice LeRae, 165. Kiana James, 166. Delilah Doom, 168. Finishing it up, LuFisto, 171. Nikki Cross, 175. Okay, Nikki Cross, that is terrible. That is fucking terrible. That's almost like somebody said, oh shit, we forgot Nikki Cross. All right, put it down. Allison Kay, 186. Lyra Valkyria might be the next NXT Women's Champion, 190. Sarah Leone, 192. Zaya Brookside, 193. Any of these names ring a bell? I'm looking. Kyla Sparks, 202. Didn't we mention her name? Oh, no, that was Billy Sparks earlier. 202. Ivy Nile, 207. Okay, I think we could wrap this up. I don't see any other names that really are going to stand out. I'm looking. Michin, Mia Yim, 224. Let's see. Well, we're almost down the list. Casey Spinelli, I root for her, 237. Heather Monroe, 236. Fallon Henley, 240. Gabby Ortiz, 245. And that's pretty much it. So where the hell is Chelsea? Where the hell is Shayna Baszler? Shayna Baszler is on this list. I gotta look back to Shayna Baszler. Let me see if I could go back a little bit. Let's go back and just. Oh wait, wait. How did I forget Marina Shafir? Wait a second. All right, Marina Shafir. This one was funny. Marina Shafir is ranked 170. So when you think about Nikki Cross and Candice LeRae and others, Marina Shafir is at a better year than they have. Let's see. We did Chelsea Green, Tiana James. I know that Shayna Baszler is right around Raquel Rodriguez's number. So let me go back to Raquel Rodriguez. And I think it's in the 60s. Here it is, Shayna Baszler, number 58. So let's just finish with this one. Shayna Baszler was number 58. And they believe that Billy Starks, AZM, Lana Austin, Jody Threat, Venny, Indy Hartwell, and who else? Britt Baker, Kenzie Page, Suzuki, and all these others have had a better year than Shayna Baszler. So that is a quick overview of your women's 250. You can buy the magazine online. I think it's like $4. You get the digital version of it. It's not bad. I mean, they do get into, we're not going to get into this today, but they are asking fans to put their votes for a lot of other categories, like most popular wrestler, tag team, this and that. And the thing I found funny was when they did the candidates for most popular wrestler, one of the names on the list is Hangman Page. Now, I have nothing really against Hangman Page as far as in-ring ability, but you're telling me out of everybody over the last 12 months, Hangman Page is one of only 10 nominees for most popular wrestler of the year? I don't even remember if Adam Cole was on that list. I know MJF was on that list. I know LA Knight was on that list. I think Bianca Belair was on that list. But Hangman Page, I mean, I don't know. Some of it is pretty out there, to be honest. And listen, that's what these magazines are. It's a conversation piece. So, if you want to wrap this up with something a little interesting, we had Lacey Evans appear on the podcast that is hosted by Mandy Rose and Tino Sabatelli. I think it's her husband or fiance. It's called the Power Alphas podcast. And Lacey Evans revealed that she almost got into a bunch of fights while she was in WWE. Macy Estrella. Thank you. Credit Fightful for this transcript. I was listening to the clip online, and I was not going to fucking type it and listen and type it. So I found that Fightful had put a little transcript up. So I'll read you what she said about the fights. Lacey Evans, Macy Estrella says, and I quote, "I don't owe anybody a damn thing because I work my ass off every day. Not that I give a shit to begin with how I lasted 7 years in the WWE. The same mouth is the same one backstage. I can't tell you how many damn fights I almost got into. I verbally told them every time, I'll work at McDonald's before I ever sit back and have anybody talk to me the way you talk to me because you feel I owe you something. The only thing I owe is working my ass off and having a good match. Back here, where she lives, there is no damn way I'm going to let anybody talk to me like that just because you've walked the same roads or walked roads I haven't walked. It's been a few times. Luckily, the powers that be liked me enough to each year, I just got a little bit more. WWE has been great to me. They have been awesome. I've invested every bit of my money. I've taken out loans. I have investment properties, real estate. I have a full business paid for. I'm in a good place because I was smart. That addiction doesn't stop. Every day, like the Power Alphas that are on this podcast, every day we wake up and it's not if, it's when we have to be ready to fight that head on, whatever that may be. A lot of people don't have that mindset. You can tell an alpha from where they end up. It's always the ones holding a title above their head. Sometimes it's the ones that never get to touch that shit because we are alphas. I'm not standing outside of doors anymore, waiting on answers, or whoever the powers that be can't even look me in the eye and tell me I don't have time for that. I'll be damned if I'm going to live like that and have people talk to me a certain way because they feel I owe. That last statement was interesting because early on she said that the powers that be always gave her a little more. And she had nothing but praise for WWE. But then at the very end, she said that the powers that be couldn't even look her in the eye. So, I don't know. You take that however you want it. But she is getting a lot of hate online because of those remarks. Yeah, people in the chat room feel that she's bitter as hell. So, yeah, you could check out her appearance. She's supposed to be doing a full-blown photo shoot with Mandy Rose in the very near future. So it's pretty funny online. People still insist on calling Mandy Rose, but they're like, when it comes to Lacey Evans, like, no, it's Macy Estrella. All right. I'm going to jet out of here. I want to give a shout out to everybody, especially little extra shout out for those that live in the war zones right now. I have from afar seen what's been going on in Palestine, in Israel, and I know we have a few people that tune into the shows that live in that neck of the woods. The one person who's always in the chat room, hanging out, interacting with everybody is Nero Faye. He lives in Israel, and he's right smack in the middle of this turmoil. I can only imagine what that must feel like to go to sleep every night, you know, and dealing with this. Not just during this wartime, but even in calmer times, that you still got to watch your back because there's this gigantic group of people that just feel that a certain class of people do not even deserve to live. You know, it's just crazy. You know, there's a lot of good people in Israel. There's a lot of good people in Palestine that do not want war. And, you know, we see what's going on and, you know, it's awful. So I know a lot of you out there are looking out for everybody who is in that neck of the woods. And if anyone out there that's dealing with stuff, you know, we're hopefully these shows are a little bit of an escape. You know, just get your mind off of everyday shit. You know, whether it's personal stuff or war or bills or health or relationship, you know, I hope this kind of gets your mind off it a little bit. But I want to thank you for joining me today. Went a little bit longer than we thought, which is fine. Don't forget, got to get the shows from DonTony.com for the time being. And once the server is completely updated, I'll let everybody know. And once I know that everything is running smooth, that's when we'll start doing some changes. It's going to be a little bit less on the video side, a little bit more on the audio side, but none of the shows are going away. We're going to just tweak them a little bit going forward. So has to be done. I mean, it's got to pay the bills and it's got to keep us in business. So unfortunately, some outlets just do not, you know, work out that way. But, you know, some changes are underway. But we're still here doing the shows, and I want to thank everybody for the support. So DonTony.com to get the access for all the shows. And tomorrow night I'll be here for the sit-down. Monday will be your Raw recap, and then we have the watch party Tuesday for Halloween Havoc. And then Kevin and I will be live Tuesday night. We'll stream it live on Patreon, and then we'll put it online for everyone at DonTony.com. So maybe the servers will be updated by then. We'll see. But if you go to that website, you'll definitely be able to get all the shows with no problem. So, my friends, enjoy the rest of your weekend. For those in New York, man, this is like 7 straight weeks we've had rain. I mean, I got stuck in Florida for 2 extra days because of rain and fog in New York. Since then, we have not had a weekend without rain. And I was in Florida, first week in September. We're already in the late October. 7, 8 straight weeks with rain on the weekend. So try to make the best of it. And everybody, much love. Talk to you all again soon.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.